Hey everybody, I'm Christopher Greene. You're watching AMTV, Alternative Media Television. It is, of course, June 12th, 2017, and things are heating up here in Arizona. In fact, it's not too bad of a day because I think the high is 91, which is actually amazing for us this time of year. We might even hit the 80s, but we're expected to hit all the way up to like 115 later this weekend. But why am I making this video? Am I making it about the weather? Of course not. I'm making it about what is coming down the line. And I've been reporting on this for going on almost a decade. Now, I'm a former financial investment advisor. I worked for Merrill Lynch during the height of the crisis in 2008, 2009. I saw the worst of it. I was astute enough, smart enough to pull my money out of the market before the collapse officially hit, went to family and friends, told them to get out, had tears in my eyes, told them that they would lose everything, told them that there would be a massive conflagration of events which would basically bring the global financial system to its knees, that major financial institutions were about to collapse like Lehman Brothers, Bear Stearns, etc. And at that time, very few people listened to what I had to say. And very few people understood the sheer fact that what was happening was a byproduct of decades and decades of funny money, easy money policies, the Federal Reserve, courtesy of Ben Bernanke. I'm going to set my coffee cup down. Courtesy of Alan Greenspan and others that had created these hyper bubbles that went into the stratosphere, of which the too big to fail banksters profited on, and then ultimately collapsed on its own weight because the whole system had been built on a foundation of sand. So what's changed today, post the greatest financial crash in the history of the world? Nothing. In fact, it's gotten worse. The balance sheet at the Federal Reserve has swelled the debt, has swelled 5 times its original amount. Barack, since the first crash, in the first crisis in 2008 and 2009, Barack Obama doubled the debt, doubled it, while he was the president of the United States. And the stock market, the real estate market, the traditional asset classes have gone vertical. They've gone straight up. We see this even with technology stocks now, with Amazon and Google hitting 1,000. In fact, Apple was just curiously downgraded, just I believe it was a couple of days ago. Stock sold off about 6%. So we are in a hyper bubble unlike anything we've ever seen before, in my opinion, in my humble opinion, in the history of the world. Worse than the dot-com bust that we saw 2001, leading into the hyperbolic state that it was in the late 90s, worse than 2008 and 2009. Because again, the Federal Reserve has put itself in a corner. It has shot its last bullet. So what are they going to do? And what can we expect? Everything's in a bubble. I think that's kind of the glaring point we all need to think about, is everything is in a bubble. Every major asset class has gone straight up. Even digital currencies, which I'm a fan of. I've talked about quite frequently over the last 10 years or so. We saw this coming, the digital revolution, the internet revolution, the social media revolution, all these things we've been at the forefront of. We're looking at Bitcoin prices, Ethereum prices are going straight through the roof. So many different things are happening right now, and people are very uncertain about what to expect. So what do I think is going to happen? Well, like Jim Rogers said just a couple of days ago, he was interviewed, this will be, and I agree with him, the worst financial crash of your lifetime. The worst thing that you've ever seen. Major financial institutions, major institutions like universities and the banking company, the major institutions here in the United States will collapse. Political parties will collapse. The old way of doing things will collapse. The government itself will collapse. There will be social disorder. There will be, and this is the overwhelming point, folks, there's going to be massive disruption in the not too distant future. But this is what I was thinking about this weekend, because you've heard all this before. You've heard this a million times. I've talked about this. I was one of the first people to talk about this. Again, I was warning about the crash coming in 2008 and 2009 when I wasn't even making YouTube videos yet. It was the inspiration for this channel. The overarching question people ask is, well, what do we do? What's the good of knowing what's coming? Knowing that there's this great disorder ahead, this birthing, also a lot of opportunity, the birthing of a new economy, a new way of doing business, new technologies, etc. What good is knowing that all this is coming to a head if there's nothing we can do to help ourselves, to improve our own family's financial situation, to improve our own standing so that we survive, you've heard this a million times, thrive, and position your family to succeed in the new economy and the new world. And this is where I've been kind of just thinking interpersonally over the last few days, where I'm disappointed in myself for not giving you guys more tools. We've been raising a lot of alarm bells, and we've done that for a very long time, and I think we've probably been the best at it because we've drawn a lot of attention to the issue. We've drawn a lot of attention to the criminal banking cartel, a lot of attention to to central banking and all of these hosts of problems, but I haven't really given you guys the tools to empower you. So what I'm saying in this video is that I'm committed going forward because I want you guys to understand where I'm coming from as I produce more and more content going forward. I'm going to start providing you guys with the tools so that you can take advantage of what's happening. I don't want people just with their heads in the sand. I don't want people just living in fear. I want you to prepare for this disruption. And God knows how much more time we have left. I mean, honestly, folks, as long as the Republic has been around, there typically is a recession every 4 to 7 years. That's the natural cycle of things. We are pushing into year 8 of a hyperbolic, straight, vertical, just insane asylum of a market that has gone straight up. There is going to be a massive reversion to the mean, and it is going to be brutal. It's going to make 2008 and 2009 look like Disneyland. People will lose everything again. And in my strong opinion, I don't think we're going to get this quick yo-yo back to the stratosphere like we did. It's not going to come back. People forget that during the Great Depression, for example, it took over 10 years for the market to right-size itself. It took a world war, World War II. It took millions of people dead fighting that war for us just to break even. A long period of time where people were so traumatized and affected by it that my own grandmother wouldn't even spend a penny when she was in her 90s. And she barely had any time left. She was still living in fear that there wasn't going to be enough food on the table, or she wouldn't be able to afford her rent or the roof over her head. This scarred people internally for a generation, multiple generations, arguably. And it's going to happen again as a byproduct of this great disruption, as a byproduct of these new advancements in technology. There are bright spots. There's windows of opportunities. It doesn't mean that there's not going to be crashes and expansions and crashes and expansions. There will be. But you look again at digital currency, for example, which is pretty much hyperbolic itself right now. Bitcoin is up over 300%, I think, in the last 12 months, something in that ballpark. Ethereum is up, I think, a crazy 5,000%. I mean, there's going to be further disruptions. But in it, the world is changing. How do you position yourself? How do you position your children going forward? From a basic level to an economic level, from a survival level, food, water, guns, ammo, bug out bags, your principal residence to your bug out residence. How do you feed your family? How are you going to have a shelter? How are you going to survive disruptions, say at the supermarket, if they stop delivering food? From a basic level all the way to an economic and spiritual level. Well, what do you do with your excess money? How do you invest in gold? How do you invest in precious metals? How do you invest in Bitcoin? How do you invest in Ethereum? How do you do these things? How do you anticipate what's ahead now? And again, the more time we have, and there's plenty of naysayers, but the more time that we have, I would just ignore them, is actually an opportunity. It's a blessing. They're just giving you more time to prepare and position you and your family for what we know is coming. So it doesn't mean, in my opinion, that it's necessarily the end of the world, although I think it could be just as brutal, and I think will be more brutal than what we've seen in a historical context in the past. But it doesn't mean that you just have to sit there without any tools at your disposal and not prepare for what's coming. And so that's what I'm saying today, is that I want you guys to understand the content that I'll be producing in the coming days, in the coming weeks, and the coming months. And my wholehearted commitment to you to empower you guys and gals out there so that you can take advantage of what's coming. and prepare yourself. For example, what do you do when a nuclear bomb goes off, God forbid, in a city near you? What do you do? Do you even know the basics of what you do? I mean, these are the things that I'm going to start talking about. I'm going to give you real actionable lists so that you know. Because again, when these things happen, you don't want to be the guy running to the grocery store when the grid goes down to buy water or buy food. You don't want to be typing on the internet what to do when a nuclear bomb goes off and the infrastructure collapses. There's not going to be time. Okay, you need to be able to think almost unconsciously, and you need to know what to do in advance. It's the point that I'm trying to make with today's video. So in conclusion, we have the birthing of a new economy. We have this great disruption ahead of us. We don't know how much more time we have left. Probably not much. If I put my best guesstimate to it, maybe we have another year. Maybe we have another 2 max. But again, we're already in year 8. It's just math. There's going to be at least a recession, if not a giant crash. And what are they going to do? What is the Federal Reserve going to do then? Notice how the Brexit is backtracking already with all this bullshit with Theresa May, and how it's basically they're just pushing back into the New World Order paradigm once again. That's only going to strengthen as a byproduct of a new war, more violence, more terrorism. It's just a part of the program. So we don't know how much time we have left, but I'll tell you this, it's not long. And so the time is now to get all of your ducks in a row, to position yourself, your family, your business, your spiritual life, all these things that make us human and make us all amazing people for what's ahead. So that we're not just living in fear, that we've empowered ourselves, and we've actually positioned our family and friends to excel in this new world, because it's going to be completely different from this current, what we understand to be our existence, what we understand to be the republic here in America, what we understand to be our economy, what we understand to be our technology, even our humanity. There's so many different levels as we pull back and tear down, deconstruct the house or peel back the onion. I'd like to hear your thoughts, comments, questions in the box below. And again, I did another video on this, which wasn't too long ago, where I predict, again, I encourage you to watch it, that we will have a 50 to 80% collapse in global stock markets in the not too distant future. And I'm basically in tears on camera this time, whereas before in 2008 and 2009, it was in person. But again, it was the inspiration for this channel. I mean, this was back in the day when people like Charlie McGrath and I used to be on the radio. Charlie's, rest in peace, no longer with us. I mean, this is how far back it goes. It's going to be, in a lot of respects, terrible. What's ahead? And I know it's coming. So get the warning out to as many people as possible, and then stay tuned, because we're going to be going over what I believe to be, in the coming days, weeks, and months, really just the critical items, everything that you need to know to prepare for what's ahead, and to hope for the best. Pray for a better future for all of us, for all people globally. I'm Chris Varun. Get it out everywhere. Make it viral, hard-hitting in your face. Click the link below. Join our email list. Support us. Visit our store. We've got a great promo going on right now. Survive 15. Save 15% off all of our food storage products, and also the AMTV exclusive bug out bag, which I've personally packed. It's amazing. There's nothing else better on the market. I guarantee it, because I packed it myself. Thank you. Click that link below. Support us. Peace.